Welcome to the Beauty Business Strategies Podcast, where we give salon, spa, and med spa owners quick tips to make more money, inspire your team, and create world-class client experiences.
All right. Welcome, everyone, to the Beauty Business Strategies Podcast. My name is Michael Yost, and I will be your host for today. Another great episode with some great guests, and I'm really excited about the dialogue and the conversation that we're going to have today because we have two awesome, fantastic guests with us today. One of them is Michell Bartlein, and I'm going to have both introduce themselves in a second. She's one of our fantastic educators, but also is a business owner, and I'll let her tell a little bit more about herself. And we are joined by Jerry Montgomery. And if you're wondering, Jerry Montgomery, I've heard that name before. Yes, you have, because he's a fantastic part of the Green Bay Packers coaching staff. And again, we're going to get some details on exactly what he does from himself. But Michelle, let's start ladies first. Michelle, why don't you give yourself a brief introduction for everyone?
Thank you so much, Michael. My name is Michell Bartlein. I am a certified strategies coach with strategies. And I'm also a salon owner. I've had my salon, which is in the fantastic city of Green Bay, Wisconsin. And I've owned Savoy Salon Spa it was just our 10-year anniversary this last week. So I absolutely understand all the things that can consume you as an owner and understanding leadership and culture and things like that. So really excited to talk with you today.
Awesome. Great stuff. Great stuff. And again, our featured guest is Jerry Montgomery. Jerry, how are you today?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Our pleasure. So why don't you tell everyone just a little bit about yourself? Set the table.
Yeah, no, I'm the defensive line coach, run game coordinator for the Green Bay Packers. I just finished my 7th season, heading into my 8th, and that's a rarity in the NFL because it's normally pretty quick transitions. You're there 2-3 years, staff gets fired, you move on. So I've been blessed to be in one place for a long time. So happy to be here.
Love it. Love it. And so for those listening, I think one of the greatest things about this is, why are we talking to someone from the Packers? Because why would you not talk to someone from the Packers is my question back as a football fan and just as a fan in general. But I think for everyone out there, I think the opportunity came available. Again, it's funny how people, and Michelle knew, and we've got these connections, right? And so that's how we came across each other's paths. But I think the real powerful part is when you strip away the general language that every business uses, there's a lot of similarity, because what do we talk about within our industry, within the beauty industry? We talk about building teams. What do we talk about? Specific strategies. Everything is team-based and culture and leadership. And I can think of no better for those unfamiliar with football, and that's perfectly fine. You do not have to be familiar with football to keep up with the conversation today, but I do want to set the table the right way. When you talk about the Green Bay Packers and you talk about culture and you talk about leadership, here's an organization that is noted for a strong culture and leadership over the course of many years. Their history goes back and is rooted in a strong culture. And so we want all of our businesses to be rooted in that. So I will tell you, we're speaking with someone that's part of an organization that believes strongly in building team and building culture. And so with that in mind, I think that's really the first place, Jerry, I want to start with you is this. The first question I have is simply, as I thought about the idea of team, we know how we define it. When I say we, meaning strategies, even our industry defines team. But I'm really fascinated to hear how you would define the word team. When you think about team from your position and also being part of teams over the course of years yourself, what's team mean to you by definition?
Wow. Yeah. Team to me is working as one. I know there's a lot of different individuals as far as coaching and coaching positions. All right. And we want to be the best at what we do. But at the same time, when you put all those together, we become a strong team. So we become one. And we have a common theme in our room, 4 equals 1. So meaning we have 4 pass rushers. If we're not all on the same page, then it's no good. If we're all on the same page, 4 equals 1. And so we talk in terms of that on a day-to-day basis. So, we're rooted from the ground up. We're only as strong as our weakest link. So our whole mindset is to make our weakest links our strongest links. And when we can do that, I think we put a pretty good product out on the field, and we're a pretty strong unit. Another
Absolutely. Yeah,
yeah,
go
just
ahead.
another thing that we talk about is being connected. You know, we'll do things from a being connected. We'll have, let's say we have in the off season right now, we'll have 3 days of practice work. Well, we might take one of those days and go do a team builder. So the guys continue to build great relationships on and off the field, which in return helps us as a team, because some of the best teams that we've ever had are player-led teams. You know, so when you talk about leadership, I don't believe it starts from the top down. I believe it starts from the bottom up. And if we can build that locker room and make it a strong unit, like I said, as one, then we become stronger as a team.
I love that. You know, I wanted to jump in, after you said that 4=1, you're already spurring questions and thoughts in my mind. And I was thinking about Michelle. Michelle, when you heard that 4=1 as a business owner, and again, I'm going to let you be kind of the bridge for some of this as well, some of this conversation as well. When you heard 4=1, I thought, to me, that was so powerful already. Just the idea of that, as you think about that as a business owner, how do you interpret that in your business?
Well, as a business owner, I resonate with everything Jerry had said. I'm going to kind of encapsulate it all. In fact, it's, when you said, it all starts kind of at the bottom up, and how do you get the whole team to come together and cheer each other on? So like in my business, it's our mission statement is we lift each other up personally and professionally to create a chain of good in the community and beyond. So that is the whole essence of what you want to do is, your more veteran team members are there to pick up the new ones and guide them along. And the camaraderie. And I love the idea of the team bonding too. I thought that was really a good point to draw. Like, okay, so they're new, they're nervous, they're scared, they don't know, we have plays, if you will, we have plays, which are our systems. So how do we get them to the level of thinking as more of a veteran team member? So no better than, hey, you know what? Let's go do some kind of team building and make you realize, I'm no different than you, right? I'm really no different, but I want to lift you up, and we're going to have fun. This is going to be great. And, we go from there.
I love it. I love it. So, something just to kind of continue the conversation that kind of fascinates me, and having a chance to talk to you, Jerry, is this idea of, you talked about connected. And I love the idea of connected, because to me, connection is a number of things. And you kind of mentioned the fact that we do some team building activities and we do some components like that. I love that. What does, especially when you're right now, when we're doing and having this conversation, we're in the off season, we're out of the season for football right now as we're having this dialogue. But as we get into season, especially, what does communication look like? Because I think connectedness comes through being able to communicate well as a team. What's communication look like? And I don't mean necessarily directly on the field on a game day itself, but I'm more fascinated to know what communication looks like from Monday through Saturday, rather than thinking about what happens on the field on a Sunday. So what's communication look like, maybe between you, the staff, you and the team, and the players that are part of it? Map out a little bit of communication, because I think that's how we stay connected.
Yeah, one of the most important things that you're going to hear me talk about, and is talked about in our building, where there's a lack of communication, negativity wreaks the void. Okay, so if you feel like you're not getting what you need from the boss above or the assistant below, next thing you know, what happens? You go into the other room, and then you and another buddy start, negatively talking about things, and then all of a sudden you get all these things that build up and build up and build up, and now, all right, now you have bigger issues at hand. So when there's a lack of communication, negativity wreaks the void. And one thing that we talk about there is, if you have an issue with anybody, go speak to that person and handle it. And when we say that all the time, that there's nothing wrong with having those conversations, because they're healthy, because you can grow from them. And so that's one thing that we do. We don't let it brew up and then go behind closed doors with other coaches and talk about things that we say maybe the boss may not be doing. So if we have that issue, we will go see the boss in hand, or we'll go see the player in hand, and make sure we're always up front, so you always know where we stand. And then therefore you can stay on top of that communication. And then one thing about me and my guys, when I say my guys, my room positionally, is I'm going to always be up front with you, because the last thing I want to do is to tell you something that's not true, so then you can come back down the road and then we've lost that trust, you know. So like I said, the biggest thing for us is the lack of communication. Negativity reeks the void, and we try to eliminate that at all costs. So we communicate on a day-to-day basis about everything. We're very open about things that are good or bad, things that need to be fixed. And just like anything anybody does in general, you're prideful, right? I think I'm one of the best D-line coaches in the league. There's 32 of us. But at the same time, like, I don't know it all. So I've got to be coachable. I got to be able to take criticism. And sometimes you're prideful, right? You think you're in the right, but the person that's telling you this is here to help you. So to me, once you've been able to accept that and understand that, you can grow as a person, your company can grow, your team can grow. And I think that's strong. I think that's very strong.
Absolutely. You know, for those wondering, you've already hit on two things, Jerry. You've already said two things today that already make me go, listen, for anyone wondering, like, so how exactly is NFL and the beauty industry going to find common ground? 4 into 1, 4 equals 1 is already worth the weight in gold in the first 2 minutes. And I'm going to tell you right now, lack of communication, where there is lack of communication, negativity reeks a void, is worth the price of admission. You could shut down right now, apply what Jerry just said, and you'd already start to win. Because Jerry, it's something that you said, and you already used the word, because as you were saying that, I kept thinking to myself, you know, a lot about what we talk about is clarity equals trust. And you went right there almost the same way when you just said, listen, if I don't address my guys, if I don't talk to my team, if I don't talk to those players that are under my direction, and I don't give them the truth, and I don't shoot straight with them, and I don't give them clarity, like you already said, you use the word trust yourself. It's like, that's where trust gets broken down. And I love the fact that you bring this up, because again, for everyone listening, this is these are the keys. This is the key in as we move forward and want to grow as companies, as we want to better our organizations, no matter who they are, what they're made up of. We can see there's such common bonds here. It's crazy. Michelle, what's striking your fancy is, again, as you act as this kind of, again, that bridge in this conversation.
This is why Jerry is my friend, because he speaks my language.
Right.
I mean, it's just like echoing like everything we talk about. And again, why when they approach the idea of like, we're doing the podcast and we want some good voices, it was like instantaneously Jerry came to mind, because I knew he could hit it on the head with these topics. Misery loves company, right? Misery loves company. We all know that. So when you have the little poisonous thing, and and it's interesting because one of your team players can be perfectly fine, right? They're trotting along, they're being successful, they're being a team player. Something personally can happen in their world, or they're involved with some other outside source, right? And suddenly they become toxic. So I absolutely agree with what he's saying. You have to be on top of that and pay attention as a leader. Like when you see those little pools happening in the side chatter, you have to address it. So confrontation as a leader can't be something to avoid. You have to be able to have tough conversations, because you're doing it because you want them to grow. You want everyone to grow, because it's a team thing. Honesty to me is key. You have to be you have to be able to accept honesty as well. So I turn that around. I want honesty to me. I want somebody who, if I confront them, that they're going to be really honest with their concerns, because we both want to find a solution and we want to grow. So that's tied into the being coachable and teachable. How do you be coachable and teachable?
Right. I love it. I love it. I want to explore culture. And again, I'm kind of moving around here a little bit because again, I'm just want to honor the fact of the time we have, but there's so many things I want to discuss that it's like, oh, I want to dive deeper into certain things, but I want to hit a couple of highlights. And so, Jerry, I want to ask you a little bit about culture. I already set it up the fact that I think the Packers probably historically have had one of the best known, one of the most honored cultures in sports, and they're often referred to for the culture piece of that of who they are in that organization. Now, again, you already kind of stated you've been part of the organization now, I believe you said for 7 years. As you look at that from a culture standpoint, what do you think are, I'm going to ask this question this way. I'm going to look for what you feel are the key ingredients in a culture. Because again, I was looking at your bio, and I see you've been from University of Oklahoma to University of Wisconsin, played for multiple teams yourself. I'm sure you've come across different cultures in many different scenarios. What makes culture, and where do you think that if you had to lay out the key ingredients to strengthen a culture, what do you think the key ingredients are?
I think first and foremost, it's the people. One, the culture in Green Bay has been established for a long time. They've been a winner, but more importantly, they do a great job of bringing in the right people, good people, people that treat you the way they want to be treated. No one's above the G or the organization, and we have a common goal, and that is we want to win. And that's where it starts, with the people. And then from there, as position coaches, we build in our classrooms with our position groups. They represent us. So anything we put on the field or anything that we put out in the community represents us, right, wrong, or indifferent. And so, we talk about those things, and we're very demanding in a sense, to the things that we need to get accomplished and the things that we need to do. In return, you've got great people that play a game at a high level, and also are very good in the community. They do a lot to give back, and I know I'm kind of bouncing around here, but that's probably the biggest thing to me is the people. You can bring in bad people that might be unbelievable coaches or players, but again, then the culture in the locker room becomes bad. You can bring good people in. You can teach them how to coach the game. You can teach them how to play the game better, and you have a really good finished product.
Love it. I love it. And I think, I picked out some highlights, again, taking a lot of notes on the side with everything you're saying, just to kind of be able to feed some of this back from what I hear. I love the fact that I said, obviously, key ingredients, a couple of things I already said, people, but then breaking that down even a little bit lower than that is, you talked about this idea of that there's a common goal. In your case, common goal is we want to win. Well, okay, guess what? Common goal of business is we want to win. We want to win the game of business, whatever that looks like. We want to meet the goals that we've set for our company. So we got people, we got common goals. I picked out because I think it's so relevant. It's the people that we bring in need to be a reflection of us. So there's that component of that character. And is this a reflection of us? Because that is exactly what anyone that's a part of your organization and a part of our businesses, even here at Strategies, again, everyone that we have is a reflection of us, no matter how they are seen out there in the community or interacting. I think that's a great piece. And the last thing I heard there was you wrote down the fact that we're demanding. And I think that's a really cool component, because I'm going to kind of change the verbiage just ever so slightly on that. But I think it's the same thing as we have expectations, and it's okay to have expectations. I think a lot of times as business owners, a lot of business owners can kind of settle for okay. We can settle for average as business owners. I will say, like I said, in your line of work, you don't have the luxury to settle for average or okay, because that's not going to get us to the common goal, which is we want to win. right?
Absolutely.
But in businesses, we have to be careful of this fact. Unlike in the NFL, if we all set our bar that high where, hey, listen, if we don't win, negative consequences are going to happen. Well, it is the same kind of thing in our business. If we don't have those expectations, we don't win. What does that mean? That means we can't grow. Maybe that means opportunities lost for people that are part of our teams in our own businesses. And so I think that's really, really a cool thing. I want to follow up with this idea of and it stays on the line of people. And I want to follow with this is obviously in a team sport, such as football and in any team sport really, but in a team sport, players are we have constant turnover. There's always, we certainly have some stability with certain players that last a number of years and really stand themselves out. But at the same time, we also have a lot of turnover as far as that goes. I know within the beauty industry, especially, it seems as though there's always this fear of turnover. And again, we don't want to create a lot of turnover because maybe that's a reflection of, from a business standpoint, that's just a reflection of maybe something negatively culture-wise that's happening. It's causing that. But also, I think sometimes, and the angle I want to approach the question is, sometimes we just need to look and say turnover is a necessary thing. When you are thinking about the turnover, what are the things that keep you focused that maybe we could share with our listeners that would say, hey, listen, even though players come and go, here's what you always want to keep your eye on? Or how do you're constantly seeing that, how would you deal? I mean, how do you deal yourself, Jerry, with when it comes to the turnover and still staying on the road that we want to be on?
Yeah, when I hear you talk about those things, to me, regardless of who comes in the building, the standard is still the expectation. Okay, the standard is still the expectation. So therefore, we're going to push and strive to be the best at what we do. And I'm trying to get it to correlate a little bit to maybe the your business side of things, but just anytime there's somebody that comes in the door, their expectations may not be what ours are. They may come from a different organizations where they don't do things the way we do things, and then you just have to show them that the way we do things has been proven and we've had success. So if we can get you to dial into these things, you're going to be right in line with the ones that have come before you. And so we still talk about the standard is the expectations. And, we talk about preparation and doing things the right way and holding each other accountable, because those things are important. So, I'm trying to correlate it between the two, obviously with your business and side of things and ours, but I think we have some guys that have come in the past, can't speak on the names, but they've come in and they're maybe a little bit more lax and they don't show up on time and they don't do these things right. And then what happens is we've got such a strong locker room that those guys figure out right away, well, okay, these guys do things a certain way around here. I need to step up to that standard or else I won't be here long, and so that's kind of the environment that we're around, is we have such a good locker room. And the guys that have been here and have seen from the older guys that are no longer here, that they want to continue to set that bar high and do things the right way and represent the organization in the right way. So to the new people coming in, hey, this is how we do things. This is why we represent the G this way. And yeah, so hopefully that helps a little bit.
It's perfect.
I had a question, Jerry. So
Yes.
what does it look like? Like, I love what you said. So what does it look like? Like, we call it an onboarding. So when a new person comes in, so we set that standard. Is there such an onboarding process for new players?
I wouldn't say onboarding. It's just you find out real quick, hey, these are the expectations. We don't have many rules around here, right? But we want to treat everybody the same way you would want to be treated. So we're going to treat people with respect. We're going to do things the right way, from the people in the cafeteria to the people in the athletic training room. Treat people how you want to be treated. be accountable for your actions, because if you're supposed to be here at 5 a.m. to get treatment and you have somebody waiting on you, if there's an issue, we want you to communicate. All right, there goes that word again, communication. Reach out ahead of time and say, hey, look, I'm not going to be able to make it because of this. As long as we're always open and there's communication, we're going to be fine. But the minute there isn't, we have things in place that, at our level, we have fines, which, you may not be able to do at your level, but there's certain things that we can help hold them accountable. And then if they can't stick with the program, then you know what? Probably Green Bay is not the best place for you.
Right.
So
I love it.
I do too. I mean, and I think that, what you bring out is, I think that here's one thing that's really, hitting me is, if we all played the game as business owners within the beauty industry, if we played our business game at the same level, there's a reason why, we say to ourselves, if you're listening and you're at all familiar with sports at any level, it's like, oh, well, that's a professional team and they're the cream of the crop and all of that. Well, listen, you're a professional business, right? And the difference is very, don't make an excuse for yourself. What I hear is the fact that if you come in those doors, the Packers organization, and you walk into their training facility, and you walk into where they do their work, there's a high level that just says, listen, we don't expect less. And what if we all played the game at that level? Because I think a lot of times, as business owners, and this goes back to something I said earlier, I think sometimes we are willing to set a bar at a lower level just because we don't want to set the bar at the higher level. And, I think that if you're hearing anything, I think to me, that is really a key, is to say, play the game with players that want to play the game like you play. Right. And what your expectations are. And I think that applies across the board, no matter what you're talking about. That breaks down the barriers of language, things that are specific to our industry versus a professional sports team or any other business. Play the game with players that play it at the level you want it played. And
Michael, you know what's unique here? I don't mean to cut you off, but
no.
I was having this conversation with another coaching buddy of mine the other day. We go into other businesses, when we have our downtime, which isn't much, we'll go into another organization or another business, and we just kind of see how things operate. And we're like, man, these people couldn't cut it in our world because the accountability is so high. And man, when a meeting starts at 1 o'clock, guys are in the table sitting there ready to go at 12:50. I mean, it's just, and I think that goes back to whether it was, our college athletic training on up, but just, and it's all about team. But I see a huge difference in the way we operate and run our organization. And I walk into another business and, maybe it was my wife's old company in Cedar Falls or whatnot. You walk in, you're just like, man, people just kind of come and go as they want. And we just have so much structure and accountability. And the attention to detail with things are unbelievable. I mean, we go from one drill to another. Everybody knows where they're going, and we're on the same clockwork. And I'm not sure if it's going to compare, but I just know, I feel like, man, if I could get into the real world, in the business world, like I would make this company just roll, and like I said, maybe they're two totally different worlds, but I just walk into places and I'm like, man, this could be so much better run.
Yeah. Well, you just said it, Jerry. I mean, it all, and I didn't mean to cut you off, Michelle. I'll let you say what was on your brain, because I know both our brains are ticking. I'm going, there's not enough time in this interview. I can tell you that right now. But I will tell you everything you just said, Jerry, 100%, man. It all translates. It all translates. You used, again, words that we use all the time. Accountability. It is one of the key 8 drivers in what we talk about at strategies. Accountability is a big deal. And again, the expectation at that higher level, I mean, that is exactly it. Michelle, you were going to say something.
It just, this conversation was so fantastic, because that was the point of just making the point come across that businesses, they seem so different, but they have the essence of the same. you want to play with the big dogs, you have to act like a big dog. If you want to be a very elite business, you have to be elite, and you need to hire for that. People are replaceable, but your standards have to be higher for their behaviors and their personality, not for their skills. Because if they're coachable and they're teachable, we've mentioned that many times, that's the key to it. So whether I'm going to jump into a question you're going to ask, Michael, but as a leader, leaders want, we want the best. We want the best for everybody on our team. And, we just see big things like, Jerry, you said you go into businesses and you're like, you point things out. As a business owner, I'm looking at that too all the time. And I'm like, how do we get our team to see that and be at that level? So my question is, as a leader, what does it mean for you to be a leader, to lead these people? What is if I want to ask the question, turn it around a little bit, what is the standard you hold for yourself?
Well, that's just it, is I have to hold myself to that standard. Otherwise, I'm talking out both sides of my mouth. So what I preach to my guys represents me, right, wrong, or indifferent. If I'm going to ask you to do something, I'm doing that. If I tell them I want them prepared, well, I'm at work at 4 a.m. In the fall, and I don't leave till 10:30. I'm there 7 days a week preparing to help them be successful on the field, and I want that in return. So as a leader, I'm going to do my job to the best of my ability, and it should rub off to those guys, because that's one thing as a leader or as the boss, just to show up whenever, and they see that and they're like, oh, well, shoot, if he can leave early, I can leave early. So you set that standard high, and you speak in those terms, and then you show them, they'll follow. The other thing is too, I've got a unique story, and we can hit on that if you want, but more importantly, I've always had a fear of failure, right? So I've always had, and I don't even know if it's a fear of failure, but it's more of a fear of what my peers think. So I'm always going above and beyond to make sure that my work is detailed. I'm on point with it. Therefore, my players represent me to the highest standard, and maybe that's why I've been here for 7 years, and they value that. I don't know, but I just know, I know there's only 32 of my positions in the NFL, 32 in the world, and there's a million people that would take my job in a heartbeat the minute I slack up. So I set the stage and the standard that I want my guys to live by, and because I do that, I think they fall in the line. And another thing is, I have great relationships with all my guys, so therefore, when things do get rough and I need to bark at them a little bit more than just a conversation, they understand where it's coming from. And so I truly believe that if you can build close relationships with the people that you work with and you're around, and they see that you're working hard, that when you do, present them with something, whether it may be negative or positive, that they'll handle it a lot better coming from somebody that is out there doing it, instead of just somebody that's showing up here and there and just pointing the finger and then leaving and coming back and not seeing you put the work in. So
love it. Love it. This has been fantastic. I want to kind of wind us down a little bit, but definitely, boy, I hope we get another chance to connect because, again, I'd love to dive more into that, the fear of failure, and like I said, the story that you're referencing and things. There's so much there. There's so much stuff that we could tap into, but I do want to honor our time today together as far as that goes. So as we kind of start to wind down, I always like to ask a little bit of a side question, just get a little bit of something that just to learn a little bit about you from more of a personal standpoint. And so I don't know if you're a big reader. I don't know if you're a movie guy. I don't know if you just stream. Just what do you do? Like, is there something? This does not have to be inspirational, by the way. This could be, you can answer this any way that you need. But if there's a great inspirational book that you just think everyone's got to read, share that. At the same time, you're just like, man, my favorite movie is, Step Brothers or whatever, man. I mean, I'm down with that too. But are you a streamer guy? Do you just binge watch stuff? Are you a movie guy? You're a reader? What's your hobby in that area?
I'd like to sit here and tell you that I'm an unbelievable reader and I love to read. That's not the case. I'm an audiobook guy, and so one book I would recommend is It Takes What It Takes. Really, really good book, and I want to say Trevor Movard is the one that wrote it, but It Takes What It Takes. Really good book. But I'm not gonna lie, I love movies, and I love to watch series. So you talk about Yellowstone, love that. As far as going back to Breaking Bad, you know, yeah, I like to watch series, and then I wish I could get my wife to watch more of those with me. But she grew up on a farm, so she likes to be outside and
Right.
doing work around the yard. So, but yeah, that's where I'm at. I'm a movie gun. Love the new Top Gun movie.
Oh yeah.
So I wish they'd make movies like they used to, which that made me feel pretty good watching that one. So
That's awesome. So we got 3 items from Jerry. It takes what it takes. So there's for the person that wanted to take something away and go, I need to listen to something that's going to be powerful. It takes what it takes. Get it, read it, or audio wise. At the same time, I'm definitely in a Yellowstone house myself. It's a good thing my wife did not hear you, because she'd be running in the door, because I think she's watched it through about 4 times. She's got a real problem. She's got a real, not I say problem, in she's Rip. She has a Rip obsession. She's
oh, yeah.
definitely a Rip fan. So with that in mind, definitely love Yellowstone, and like I said, love the movies too. And like I said, the most recent Top Gun was awesome, phenomenal. This has been fantastic, Jerry. Thank you so much. I appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule to just do this with us. Again, what you shared is so relevant to our industry, and that is for sure. So thank you so much for your time. We definitely appreciate it.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me. And like I said, hopefully you guys can take something from it. So
there's a bunch of things to take from it. And Michelle, thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate your insight, and again, love the questions that you had as well. And so for everyone out there, I will wrap today up and just again say thank you guys for tuning in. Thanks for listening. And we look forward to speaking again soon on a future podcast. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
Thanks again for listening to the Beauty Business Strategies podcast. If you like this episode, be sure to hit follow, and please share the episode link with anyone who you think could benefit from today's content. To learn more about how strategies can help create more fun, profit, and growth potential for you, your company, and your team, we invite you to schedule a free 60-minute strategy session by clicking the direct link in the description of this episode. There you'll also find links to our wide array of coaching, seminar, and learning opportunities, all of which can be found at strategies.com.